Mesdames, Messieurs, so now I have good news for you. Kishore Mahbubani is ready to deliver his keynote speech. So I won't introduce Kishore in detail. Well, he is, when he was very young, actually, he was a star in the civil service, in the foreign civil service of Singapore. And believe me, to be a star when Lee Kuan Yew was still in office was not that easy, because to be a star with a star is not that easy. So he was a very young permanent undersecretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Singapore. Then, after he retired very young from the civil service, he became an intellectual star. I'm not saying that it's not compatible to be in the civil service and to be an intellectual, but in his case, he was both, and he has become a bestseller author on some major themes related to the subject matter of this conference, by the way, of world politics. And I understand that he's just drafting a book on global governance, the very subject of this conference. Now, I would not be complete if I did not add that I like Kishore very much. We have known each other for quite a number of years, and frankly speaking, I have seldom met a man who is as arrogant as he is. But that's the kind of arrogance that I like, because in a way, you know, it is fully justified, as you will see yourself. And he's in particular lecturing us that the West is declining, that Asia is becoming the next forthcoming master of the world, that Western values are just Western values, Asian values are, of course, the real values. And maybe this is because I fell under his influence that I said yesterday morning, Mary, things which perhaps were not totally appropriate about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So I apologize. This is my own faults, entirely the consequences of Kishore's arrogance. Kishore, I am very happy to give you the floor.
I can assure you that that is by far the most dangerous introduction that I've ever had. Luckily, I was sitting next to Mary Robinson, you know, and she says, Kishore, after you get such a tremendous build-up, it'll be all downhill after this. So be ready. In fact, I'm actually very surprised that Thierry chose me for this very important address. I suspect he's trying to destroy the myth that he's infallible. So I'm going to prove he's fallible today. But I have other challenges in speaking to you today. And the biggest challenge I face is that I've never been as optimistic about the future as I am today. I think that the next 20 years will be the best 20 years that our world would have ever seen. And I'll explain why. But at the same time, to make my message credible, I have to address what's on your minds. I have to address what's in the zeitgeist of today. And as you know, our zeitgeist has never been as pessimistic as it is today. You pick up the newspapers, you turn on the TV sets, you get doom and gloom. And I'll try to address why we feel this doom and gloom And then I'll explain to you why, despite these feelings of doom and gloom, great times are coming. That's what I'm going to do. So why are we facing this doom and gloom? And I have come up with an explanation that the reason why humanity at large feels a bit lost in today's world is because we are trying to manage at the same time three significant historical junctures. Managing any one of them would have been a challenge. Managing all three is a huge challenge. And as I describe the three of them, you'll understand why. But even before I begin, I must, to reinforce the point that Thierry made, as a good Asian, I still have to do the right Asian thing and apologize to my Western friends if I make you feel uncomfortable with some things I'm going to say. But at the same time, if I don't take you out of your comfort zone, you will never understand the world that is coming, because the world that is coming is a world outside the Western comfort zone. And I hope to also prepare you for that. So what's the first historical juncture? The first historical juncture, and this is why actually it was brilliant for Thierry to choose the topic of global governance. The first historical juncture we are facing is that the world has changed fundamentally. And how has the world changed fundamentally? I explain it with a very simple metaphor. You know, before, when you live in 193 separate countries, you live in 193 separate boats, so you needed rules to make sure that the countries and boats didn't collide with each other, and that's what the 1945 rules-based order was all about. But today, the world has shrunk, and 7 billion people on our planet no longer live in 193 separate boats. They live on 193 separate cabins on the same boat. But the problem we have is that we have captains and crews taking care of each cabin, but we don't have a captain or crew to take care of the global boat as a whole. And if you accept this metaphor, you'll begin to understand why we face so much pessimism. Because all the challenges, all the fundamental challenges that we face are clearly global challenges, which demonstrate day after day that we are on the same boat, right? Just before the session, Jacob, Ilsa Kong, and the rest were saying, you know, housewives in Korea wake up to read about what's happening in Greece. Why? Because we are on the same boat. And when a financial crisis explodes, none of us can be immune from a financial crisis. Similarly, the number one challenge that we worry about today is global warming. And you cannot solve global warming by sitting in any country or any cabin of the boat. You have to get together as a whole and find a solution. Similarly, if you have a pandemic, it respects no borders. It travels, viruses travels across borders effortlessly. So day after day, we are given evidence that we are all on the same boat. And what do our governments do? Do they take care of the boat as a whole? Or do they just focus on their cabins? And if you look back even over the last few years, there was only once, at the height of the financial crisis in April 2009, at the G20 meeting in London, when all the leaders were aware finally that we are on the same boat, then they came together and launched a coordinated package that saved the world in 2009. But as soon as the crisis was over, what the leaders do again, they again focus on their cabins.